This is Gemstones and Whiskey, an Outlander podcast. I'm Ashley Alexandra.
And I'm Reena Ezra.
And this is Season 2, Episode 5, Untimely Resurrection.
We are playing it after the opening credits.
So, last episode, they were hosting a big dinner party, they being Claire and Jamie, and it ended in this kind of silly brawl.
Mm-hmm. And now people are cleaning up the entire room. Look how messy this got.
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't even look at the mess because everything's just so beautiful. Like that carpet, the couch, the wallpaper. I just want to live there.
Yes, darling. Why don't we actually toss all the furniture on its side? Let's make it a mess because that's now feng shui. It's true. She's just standing out there holding her belly.
Yeah, because just a reminder, Claire's pregnant.
Yeah,
I feel like
it's so weird. It's still so weird because she would be such a good mom.
Yes.
Right? And she hasn't had the opportunity, and it feels like she's just later in life.
Yeah, and it's just
her
strange.
Age, I mean.
Like, I just feel like it hasn't really been talked about a lot, you know? So it's just interesting. I find myself a lot of times being like, oh, right.
Yeah.
She's pregnant.
Yeah. I think the show is also just reminding us. That's why they put those little things in there.
True.
Fergus is so cute.
I know. Little Fergus is asleep on a love seat. God. Jamie just got home. I'm pretty sure he was like in jail overnight for, punching people, I guess.
In his own house.
France is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, France is weird. That's the moral of the story. Yeah, so cute. He's so cute though, Fergus, and I still can't get over it that they have both like really curly hair. They did it on purpose.
Fergus gives me very strong Gavroche vibes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to see the aftermath of this, because we didn't also really write the big piece of information we found out from the last episode was that why am I forgetting her name again? She was pregnant, and they decided to announce it. Yes, and her lover heard the news and didn't know that she was keeping the baby.
Right, and
pretending
also that it's her husband.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't seem like her husband is aware of what's going on. I don't think he knows that. He really thinks that that's his kid.
Yeah, I mean, I also don't think during that time, I think there's few men that you could just be like, oh, by the way, this isn't your baby, but is that cool with you?
Yeah. And also, the young girl who was raped.
Yes. Mary Hawkins.
Yes. And then
who they know at some point is supposed to marry
Randall.
Jack Randall.
Yeah.
Not Jack Black Randall. Every time.
Yeah. So, I'm not going to lie. I do get, tap out sometimes or get bored every time, Claire and Jamie talk business. Because I'm just like, but what about, you guys? Because it was so different from being in Scotland. And I was just like, now everything's like, oh, the money and finances, St. Germain running this and doing that, blah, blah, responsibilities.
I think it's also because the plan itself is kind of silly. And so I think it's silly and not 100% clear and kind of it gets very muddy in certain places and who are people and there's not really enough time for them to fully develop some of these auxiliary characters that are involved in this plan. So when they're sitting and talking about this plan, I'm like, this is just stupid.
Yes. Also, another thing I want to add on top of from last episode, which they're discussing, Claire and Jamie are discussing now, is the people who were frightened, attacked her and Mary Hawkins, who were like, oh my god, la Dame Blanche.
Right.
And we're still finding out, okay, what is the mystery around that? What is the whole...
Yeah. So Jamie's like, so listen, about that. La Dame Blanche is this myth or legend of a white witch, and perhaps sometime when I was at a brothel once or twice, I might have hinted to the fact that you are La Dame Blanche.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's like,
that you're the white witch that I married you.
What? And he's like, no, you see.
He did that? Do you think when he was under the influence, like when he was drunk?
Yeah, I do. I could see like drunk Jamie being like, no, La Dame Blanche.
Yeah, exactly. Trying to be like impressive or spook people, or like also
he's carried away.
Exactly, getting carried away, and he can be whoever he wants to be in this new place. Yeah. He kind of both of them had a fresh start when they came to France. Or so you thought. Of course, their past creeps up with them, but. He, leaving because, the price on his head, and he no longer needed to be that old persona or whoever. He could recreate himself.
Yeah. I also think, in true Jamie fashion, he's always trying to think of a way to protect Claire. Oh, of course. So I do think there was probably also an element of that influenced
his decision to worked. Do that. Yeah. If he didn't do that, they wouldn't have, those guys wouldn't have been scared and, ran away and,
Especially since she made herself a target, immediately as soon as they stepped foot in France. Yes. So, this myth and this legend kind of helps her, I don't know, helps people keep a distance from her.
For sure. I think it whatever situation you're in, you kind of always want to have control of the narrative.
Yeah.
Whether it be made up or real. Right. Which we know it isn't, completely unreal because she does travel through time. Correct. So you want to call her a white witch? Or you want to call her somebody with mystical powers? That's not necessarily a lie. We absolutely don't know how she even got this gift or how it even manifested where she's able to travel through stones.
Right.
That still boggles my mind that we're so deep into the show already. It's season 2, and none of that is explained.
Correct.
And I don't know when it's going to be explained. And it's just like, oh, wow, okay, this is just, I accept this information and we're just going with it.
Yeah.
Because some shows would take... I don't want to say the easy way out, but maybe over-explain or be like, oh, this is why. Mm-hmm. But this show, it very smartly keeps things still, hidden from you.
Well, and in a way, then, it forces you as the audience member, to just accept the circumstances. Yeah. Rather than them explaining to you why, and you go, no, I reject that theory, or that's silly, or here are all the loopholes, by kind of not addressing it.
Which is true, because I feel like people would definitely
rebel against it.
Yeah, people would challenge if they were given an answer as to why this is the thing. Because they want to ground it in reality also, and this is not that. This is a fantasy show. It's... that would be silly to do for sure.
One thing that Claire did mention to Jamie was that she thinks Saint-Germain was behind the group of thugs that... I
never liked that guy.
Yeah.
Never liked him.
That attacked them in the alley.
He's a bad man.
And so they're going to try and figure out if they can trace it back to him. And Claire's now visiting with poor Mary Hawkins.
Yeah. Her poor face. It still looks like she hasn't quite healed.
Yeah.
I mean, this is supposed to be the next morning, right? So it actually is still quite fresh.
And Mary's concerned about figuring out how to make sure everyone knows that Alex is innocent. And because, again, she was had these flashbacks or whatever, so it made it look like Alex was the one that raped her. Meanwhile, he was just trying to take care of her.
Yeah, that poor dude. And then the fight broke out.
Oh boy.
Also, though, dude, Alex, don't grab her by the arms like that, and then put your body over her body to grab. No, that wasn't good positioning on your part with your body. Yeah. That was not helpful.
Claire's, of course, going into doctor mode now, or nurse mode. She's like, physically, how are you feeling? And she's going through all the checkpoints, and she's brought some herbs.
Got that herbs. Yeah, got those herbs. Always need herbs.
Man.
Yes. Yeah. Again, because Claire not only can, help her heal physically, but if Mary Hawkins does ever need to talk about stuff, um, Claire's experienced this before. Like we said, she's been taken advantage of, and she can kind of not necessarily like give advice, just relate. She can empathize with the psychological toll you might have after that very devastating event.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, she's having a clinical conversation in a way that I don't think happened very often during that time. Like Mary straight up asked her, "Am I going to have a baby?" And Claire explained to her that like she doesn't think that will happen because her attacker didn't finish.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's how the conversation would have gone with other women of that time, because they either A, didn't know that that was really a connection, or B, they're just not going to speak about the facts really, and like legitimately how do pregnancies happen.
Right. And Claire, with her expertise, knowledge, experience from the present, because again, Mary Hawkins is only 14 here?
Yeah.
Being like so young that obviously she lost her virginity that way, instead of being like frightful and literally just scared for her life, looming in her head like, oh my god, what if I'm pregnant, what if I have a baby, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
She has those questions answered, and it calms her, and like, yeah, it just provides a lot of ease and comfort. And Claire is, it just doesn't matter what you think about Claire. She's just a good person through and through. She's good natured. Like, she doesn't, I'll probably say that multiple times throughout the show, that she's stubborn as heck and bothers me so much. But then when incidents like this happen, she,
absolutely,
she just does what needs to be done. And she's there for you.
That conversation between Mary and Claire reminded me of Bridgerton. Did you watch Bridgerton?
I have not.
There's similar questions or revelations that come up just about the mechanics of intercourse and pregnancy and all of that. And it's just interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, because that show, they got... they're quite intimate on that show. Which has more, that show or Outlander?
No, Outlander, for sure.
Really? I thought that was like, I don't know, when Bridgerton first like broke out and everyone was watching on Netflix, they made it seem like it was just porn.
I think it was everyone that didn't watch Outlander.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot, and also, like, yeah, there's a lot that happens in that one season. But
is another season out, or it's just?
I think there's just as much. I think there's more actually in Outlander, and obviously the season as a whole. There's a new season coming out, but it is not yet out.
I just couldn't get into it. I did try watching the first episode, and just like the characters weren't doing it for me. I don't know what it just seemed a little too surface level.
Yeah, I didn't rush to watch it either, and it's one of those things that like I had a free weekend and I kind of it was an easy binge.
Yeah, I get that.
It was nice to watch.
Yeah,
and that was really it. It's not a deep story.
It's a good comforting fluff
There's
show.
some like aggravating stereotypical characters or storylines that you're like, all right, it's played out. Anyway.
Okay. Good to know. Now I'll never watch it.
So, I really sold it. So Jamie is speaking again with Bonnie Prince Charlie, still trying to scheme and play both sides. So again, he's seeming like a good ally and supporter of Bonnie Prince Charlie. Of course, we know that his intention on the back end is to subvert the efforts. He's gaining as much information he can about where the rebellion stands financially. And
What is the
again, they seem to be a bit closer every time they have conversations to it actually happening.
Jamie and the Prince, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't like his face. Not Jamie's, the other dude.
Oh,
He's
God.
just like, he just also doesn't seem like somebody who is, I just don't even know how he would act as a ruler. Like, I know he's diplomatic, I know he can do the political stuff, but he just seems very weak. Like, you want someone who seems, who at least looks bolder and stronger, and, like, you know how, like, Russia has Putin, and just the way he...
Where are we going?
I mean, just, like, physically, when you think of, like, like, a leader, like, and he, is trying to be, and, like, trust me, like, Putin doesn't do anything for me. I don't think he's attractive. He doesn't turn me on. But, like, he tries to be, like, on a horse with shirtless, fighting a bear, like, whatever. But then we look at our leaders, our presidents of the U.S., and I'm just like...
I prefer not to.
I'm just like, our options, if you didn't know anything about them and just like by their appearance, you're just like, yes, how safe do I feel? Orange Nugget, really old, not super fit man, or
Yeah.
That's just what it makes me think of when I'm just, like, looking at Prince Charles as, like, he just looks like a frail little dork. And
yeah, he does.
I mean, not saying, like, he's smart.
No, but he's not someone, first of all, that I would want to follow into battle.
Yeah,
right?
I guess that's my major thing. Also, for this time period, because you are fighting. There is war. There's not, like, this is not...
No, and, like, people die on the line. Like, if you're going into battle, there's a very large percentage of people that are not coming out of that.
Yeah.
Because you're up close and personal.
Yeah. So, this is a
poor
really
Alex.
Bit of sad news that we're learning.
Yes. So... essentially, Claire, and this is a very interesting choice that Claire has made, and it is more of a selfish choice. One of the few, like, very selfish choices that I think Claire makes in this series. She is...
A few? I feel like she makes a lot.
Yeah, I guess. No, but, like, not... Her intent is usually good. Here, her intent is specifically... okay, so, essentially, she knows that Mary Hawkins is supposed to marry Black Jack Randall. Mary is talking about marrying his brother Alex and how in love she is with him and all this stuff. And... Claire, for the sake of Frank, like, she just is like, well, if this Mary Hawkins marries Alex, like, will Frank ever exist and all this stuff? Mm-hmm. So she essentially goes and she's speaking with Alex and trying to convince him not to marry Mary because he has this chronic illness. And that he's just going to, his health is going to continue to decline. Yeah. He's going to end up kind of stealing her youth.
Yeah. She'll spend most of her time probably taking care of him.
Yep.
Instead of living her life.
And then he's going to pass away and she'll be a widow. Yeah. And, what is interesting about this is Claire's... While all of that is true, they clearly love each other, Alex and Mary. Mm-hmm. And if that's the choice that Mary has made, and if Alex is someone that's going to try and care for her and treat her well, versus Blackjack Randall, who is a monster, she's essentially making sure that Mary ends up with Blackjack Randall, knowing well and good that he is a complete monster.
Yeah. But, I mean...
Who's dangerous.
But, like, Claire, just put yourself in, Mary's shoes. Like, if it was you and Jamie and one of you had an illness, you guys, because she's just like, Mary, Claire's just like, oh, I'm worried that I'm going to, I'm robbing Mary of her happiness. And it's just like, yeah, you are. Because like, if it was, the situation was you and Jamie and one of you had an illness, you guys would just stick together, even if it was an age difference or whatever, and still care for each other, and you wouldn't take, the easy way out or, like, dip out on each other or anything, and it's just, like, it just bugs me, because I'm just, like, you're making this decision for somebody else, but what's the point of living? Like, you need happiness, you need to be loved. Like, I'd rather, have that in a short life than, like, a long life of misery.
Correct.
Ridiculous.
So we'll see what happens with that, but it was definitely one of those moments where I'm like, ooh, Claire, not cool.
Yeah. I did not like that.
So Jamie is back in the brothel. He's confronting Saint-Germain. And is essentially playing this little bit of, like, cat and mouse game of low-key accusing him of organizing this group of men that attacked his wife. And they're kind of dancing around that idea. Of course, he's denying it.
Do you believe him when he's just like, I have no interest?
Absolutely not. I wouldn't trust a single thing that comes out of that man's mouth.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he did try and poison her. We were certain. I mean, that was never, like, officially stated, or he didn't admit to it. But
he literally was like, I'm going to make your life a living hell in episode 1. Yeah. So I think he's a man of his word.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think he was just trying to be sly and be like, no, I don't care about your personal lives at all. I have no interest in that.
So Jamie's back speaking with Claire.
If they were in Scotland, I just have to say, like, Jamie would totally, like, settle his disputes with more aggression and, like, physical, and, like, I feel like some more shit would get done, because in France, they have to be so polite, and then it's just like, oh, yeah, let's just, like, dance around this question, and in Scotland, he would be like, I know you did it, and then, like, just...
Yeah, I mean, in France, they're literally not allowed to fight. That is a literal
illegal.
law.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think... I will say, though, too...
Hoity-toity.
Like, I think Jamie is a skilled diplomat.
Yes, I agree with that.
And, like, we did see... Like, think about everything that happened with, like, Dougal and Colum, and, like, he navigated those conversations.
Yeah.
There were times where he could not use a physical reaction.
Yes.
He had to use... like, calculated conversation.
Yeah, no, he's definitely surviving here better than Dougal. Could you imagine Dougal?
No. He'd be in jail in 5 seconds. But yeah, I think, you also think about it, it's more straightforward, right? To just go straight to the physical. Like, it's more straightforward. You resolve the issue a lot quicker rather than this, like, long game of, like, passive aggressive.
Yeah. But it's teaching, Jamie to be a better man.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, this was a sweet moment.
Yeah, this was...
Again, one of the...
This is more... they're just getting more and more intertwined, their love and family. Once you start whipping out gifts from, family... what is the word I'm thinking of? Not artifacts, but yeah, thank you.
So Jamie just presented a gift to Claire, and are they called apostle spoons?
Yes.
Is that what they're called? Essentially, it's a set of 12 spoons for the baby, and they each represent the 12 apostles. Or they each represent one of the 12 apostles. And it's again, her pregnancy hasn't been recognized, and I just keep thinking about how if the circumstances were different, if they were in Scotland, like, I think all Jamie would be talking about is the baby and that Claire's pregnant.
But they would be living a completely different life.
I know.
They're not. They're on a mission here, there, so they have to put the baby to the side.
I
Also, just a bunch of spoons. The baby will never need forks or knives. They're like, you're just eating soup, porridge, and cereal from now on.
I mean, for a while, yeah.
Or, like, rice, though, there are definitely a lot of foods that we use forks for, and I'm like, why? Spoons
no,
are better
I love
scooping
spoons for rice.
technique.
I want to get as
Right?
many grains of rice on my spoon
Exactly.
into my mouth
Exactly.
ASAP.
Like,
The
the
bigger
fork
the
has
spoon, the
slits
better.
in there. Like, how
I
do
like
you-
when the rice sticks together so I can literally shove a giant clump of rice into my mouth.
So good. So good. What kind of rice? What kind of rice do you like?
Oh, I love almost
rice
all
equally?
races. Like, I love, oh God, like a Dominican or Puerto Rican,
Ooh,
rice and beans with
Mm.
stewed meat of some kind, stewed chicken. Oh,
That's a
yes.
good one. That's a
But
good
like,
one.
fried rice is great. I love like Japanese sticky rice just on its own.
Yeah.
So good.
Isn't it crazy? There's just so many different kinds of grains over many different cultures. And they're just rice dishes, but can be made in thousands of different,
Risotto.
ways. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A rice ball?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Oh, you're making my mouth water.
You asked me.
I did ask you.
What other kind of rice
I
is
did
there?
ask
Did I
you.
forget
There's
any
a lot.
kind of rice?
Jasmine, basmati,
Yes.
and you have
Yes.
other Indian rices.
What's the one that sometimes smells like popcorn when you cook it? I like that one.
Wait.
There is one.
What?
Yeah. Basmati.
Basmati doesn't.
It
I
might
didn't
be
think it
basmati.
smelled like
Okay,
popcorn. I cook
what's
with
the
that.
long one is basmati.
Uh-huh.
So it's not that one.
I'm just
Is it
Googling what
jasmine?
rice smells like popcorn. Hey, other people. No, you're right. Basmati, jasmine, and others with a strong scent are known as aromatic rice. They smell like popcorn or roasted nuts.
Yeah.
I never noticed that when I cook basmati. I
You
never
know,
thought popcorn.
Okay, the reason
That's
I know
insane.
that, but I don't think it is basmati. It's a shorter grain. Maybe it's jasmine rice.
Yeah,
No,
it
that's
said
a
there
long grain too. Ugh. I don't know. It might be basmati.
Well,
I
while
don't
you're
know.
thinking
Sorry.
on that, no, you're good. I started the tangent. Outlander, they are looking at horses. So we are picking a horse here for a horse race, are we? Jamie is definitely getting into the extracurricular activities of France. Again, very highly aristocratic, something that only... Look at this gown. Oh my god, look at this outfit. This is going to be on Instagram shortly, people, for this episode. Look at the floral pattern.
Like, is that all embroidered or what is it?
I don't know, but it's amazing.
Or is it like painted on?
She's also the best, like, just her attire is the best out of, like, mostly all the other women. Which is probably, by design, because she's the lead, but
Yeah,
look at that yellow layer underneath and the
I will say
hat.
this one's not my favorite. It still is when you think about what it would take to actually make that.
Oh,
It's
gosh,
impressive, yes, of course.
Amazing.
But it's not my favorite aesthetically.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, to each his own. It doesn't. That's also that's true though. I never really think about, like, you're right. They don't have sewing machines back then.
No, they
You have
make
needle and
every
thread.
dress.
Everything's by hand.
Yes.
Oh, for the show too?
For
Or
the
you-
show. No, for the show.
Oh.
They make all of the costumes.
Well,
And
of course they make it, but they use machines, right? They're not.
Oh,
gonna say,
yeah,
I'm
sorry.
saying, like, if it was
No,
back
but-
then in
right,
that
I got you,
time,
I got
how
you,
long
I
it would
got you.
literally take someone to make that kind of dress.
But
That's okay.
sometimes they need to make multiples.
It's true. They definitely probably churn out
So, like,
a
if
lot
they need to, like,
in a
be
short
in
period of
mud
time
or something. I don't know.
Yes.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. What if one tears? That's so
And I
true.
did see a cool article about recycled costumes in this show.
Ooh.
So, like, sometimes they literally just don't have the time to make costumes. So, like, they'll take pieces from certain costumes
love
and
that.
put it on other characters.
That's a
in
good
other
idea.
scenes. Yeah.
Do they have? You think they have, like, an Outlander museum, or they make one with all the...
but the costumes designer had a website for, I don't know if it still exists, maybe it does. Is her name Tony Graffia? she's someone with Outlander, and I don't think she does the costumes anymore, but she did for the first, 4 seasons? 3 seasons?
Trisha Bigar is the costume designer for Outlander. At least one of them. So she might be season 4 and later.
Yeah.
There's also...
Is it Tony Graffia?
Terry Dresbach. Yeah.
Yes. So she had a website.
Oh, interesting.
And, you know what? No, actually, I think they took it down because people were making patterns of her designs, and she doesn't get money for that.
Yeah, you got it.
So she ended up taking it down.
That's fair.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah,
amazing.
How else would she make? How would you ensure people don't steal it?
Well, it's interesting,
but art is art once it's available, and people. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes, a very interesting conversation about it.
Yeah.
Specifically the red dress from this season.
Oh my gosh, the dress, such a statement.
Yeah.
So is she speaking to? Why do I not remember this woman's name?
Oh no, he's back. Pardon me while I throw up.
Because she was talking to a woman and she's like, "Oh, he's real taken by you." And Claire turns around and who's there?
The woman is...
He looks good, I have to say. Look how fresh he looks in his suit.
So that woman, I forget her name, but she's the one that was childhood friends with Jamie when he was in Friends for a hot second as a teenager.
I just couldn't
remember. And was like, "Oh my god, Jamie, you love to fight. Do you still like to fight?"
That was very good.
I remember how good of a fighter you were. Is this your wife? Did he fight for you? Because he used to fight for me all the time. And anyway, she's like, "Hey, some man's staring at you." And Claire's like, "What?" And it is Blackjack Randall in Versailles. By the way, they're at Versailles. I don't think we said that. And these apparently are gardens in Scotland that they made to look like Versailles.
They did an amazing job. Look how magnificent this is.
Also, I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. She's about to call for Jamie. Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Yikes. So this is a stressful moment. Ew, look at his face.
Because he's here. He wants to see Jamie.
Blackjack Randall's like, "Oh, Jamie's here."
And they're just left alone, them two. There are other people in the field, but they're just so close to each other right now. Can you imagine? You could probably just feel his breath
so
creepy.
Blackjack is like, "Oh yeah, Jamie's gonna come, and it's punishable by death if he draws his sword in front of the king." So of course Claire's like, "I know my husband's gonna draw his sword because he cannot wait to kill you." Yes. Great.
Yeah, which Blackjack is expecting and waiting for and knew when he would come, and he planned this really well. This is obviously, I really don't think it was by coincidence. I'm pretty sure he knew they were going to be at this gathering. And he grabbed her arm, he's touching her, oh wow. Sorry people, there's just a lot of back and forth right now.
So
I just can't. She's like.
So okay,
the
but
king.
Blackjack Randall held her arm, and he goes, "The king," meaning "Hey, the king's behind you," and she goes, "Fuck the king." Yeah. She doesn't realize he's actually behind her.
Yeah. And then he bows. I'm like, what is he bowing at? And she turns around and is like, "Oh, it's he."
Also, Claire's introducing him, giving all his titles. I'd be like, "Raper of my husband."
Vindictive monster. Yeah. Well, we finally get to see the king.
This is a real fun scene because the king is
for sure
taking the piss out of Blackjack Randall. like, is basically in the most kingly fashion insulting him. Like, what he's wearing, he, like, forces him to, like, bow or whatever. I forget what he does.
He was talking about his accent as well.
Yeah.
Like saying the
accent,
Scottish
the
uniform, saying English words. Yeah. He's just taking jabs at Blackjack. Which, yeah, I totally love.
He's so shady. Shady king.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is like, it's just so backhanded because he's like trying to, have like, show his pleasantries, but also insults him at the same time.
Yeah, and it's really funny to watch.
And it's deceitful
Blackjack
too.
have to swallow his pride.
Yeah.
And
he can't go out of line.
Of the king. He cannot.
He
and that does not happen often.
Oh, and Claire's also enjoying this.
Yes.
Like, she was like, could you imagine? I love this scene because it's such a culmination of emotions. Like, immediately, her realizing Blackjack is there. It getting tense. They're uncomfortable. Then the king is there. Then, now she's Jamie, enjoying it. And now Jamie just showed up. There's just, like, one layer on top of the other.
Oh, my God. Look at his face. So Blackjack, like, grabs the...
He's like a girl that's, like, seen a fan of and just seen, like, Justin Bieber or something. Yeah, like, no, he's really... He gets excited. Yeah. So yes, yeah.
Also, like, kudos to Jamie for, like, being so normal. His hand is not on his sword. Let me just point that out, which is interesting. Oh, I guess it is.
It is, and it still has a cast on.
It's his broken hand.
Yeah.
His healing hand. I'm sorry. Now they're talking about the weather?
Doesn't matter where you are or what time period it is.
The weather here is pretty nice.
There's still small talk. And now it's forced to tell, like, Claire open up the conversation. So now Blackjack has to say why he's in Versailles in the first place, which he says it's to help aid his brother, his sick brother.
Oh,
I love
he
this
makes
too.
him beg, not bow. That's it. That is my fave oret.
Yes, on your knees. I love how the king is making Blackjack beg right now. And at first, when I watched this first, I was just like, oh my God, is he actually going to do it? Like, because he has it, like, but, he can't just refuse.
Oh my God, this is the best scene ever.
Jamie is
literally bewildered. Like, he's like, are you serious? You know how much he has to hate this inside.
Does the king know Blackjack's reputation and his history? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is their first time meeting, and all of a sudden the king is coming out being very demanding and making Blackjack humiliated, and now laughing at the fact that Blackjack is literally on his knees. Why was he egging him on?
I think he's too removed to actually know his reputation. I think he's a semi-decorated British officer, and the French don't like the British, and so they will enjoy an opportunity to cut down this prestigious...
Yes. So that is something that... right, I think earlier I was saying, like, oh, his Blackjack is, English. He doesn't have a Scottish accent. I think I misspoke earlier. But that is definitely a thing, like, the French and the Scottish have in common is, they're both ruled and oppressed by Britain. So, because, of course, he doesn't say anything to Claire because he wouldn't disrespect a woman, or at least not in that setting, because she's also British. But
they are literally laughing.
His whole posse, the king's whole posse is, like...
Blackjack's face, and Blackjack is clearly not happy. Because he essentially was like, oh my God, I didn't mean for you to actually get down on your knees. How cute.
Oh my God. After, I thought they were going to walk away and be done, but then Jamie goes back to have a word with Blackjack. And what could they possibly be discussing?
I don't know, but I really love that Jamie still wears his kilt.
I was just gonna say
the kilt with like is that a waistcoat? No, waistcoat would be shorter in front.
He touches him.
Ew.
Blackjack touches his chest, but then they bow to each other.
Ew.
Like it was like their conversation seems civilized, but we don't know what they discussed.
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't civilized at all. And the fact that Blackjack made the move to like touch him, like he owned him. So Jamie's like, so I challenged him to a duel.
Shocker.
And he said sure, because he owes me death. And Claire's like, okay.
And we're just gonna roll.
Can
with
we?
it.
No. I'm pregnant with your child.
Yes, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's a tense carriage ride. Yikes. Have you ever been in a tense
Car ride?
Yeah.
With my partner?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. It was probably a fight I started. Yeah, which is so funny.
So it's extra tense for you.
Which is so funny because you're just making me think about it. I just laugh at how stupid I am sometimes because I'm just like sitting there it's tense and then you're like sad and upset because like you made him sad and upset and then you're just like, but now I'm sad and upset and like we're now like angry at each other or whatever, and then sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, why did this even start? How does this even happen? I'm like, oh, it's me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, is that you know what I'm talking about?
Okay, so I've gotten better at kind of cutting it off before it happens.
That's a good skill.
But I also don't live with my boyfriend.
Yes.
So I do think I have sometimes it buys me some time to think about it.
All I can say
reacting.
is it's good that, you get
Not
music.
That happens often.
You get music in the car.
Yes.
It's just trying to break the silence. You can just play Spotify.
Yeah,
yeah, it is silly.
Hey, listen, are you in a tense conversation or a car ride with your boyfriend? Put on Gemstones and Whiskey and Outlander podcast.
Yeah,
and then you guys can just like laugh about it together, and you'd be like, "Oh my god, we're not alone. Yes. I love you. I love you."
Yes, we all love each other. And then you'll forget about why you fighted, and then you'll just make love because we'll just be talking about a sex scene in the show.
Yes, dagger sex.
Yeah, it is funny being in a car ride, and then you just go home, and you're just like, what? Like, as if removing it from the car makes any difference when you're in a different space, But for some reason,
no, come on. When you're just in this tiny, you're like, I'm in a box.
You're like, you know what? You're sitting in the passenger seat, and you're like, I gotta go to the back. And you just curl in the back seat.
That's great. That's cool. Please.
Okay. I'll write that down as a sketch idea.
Yes, while we're having a grand old time, Jamie and Claire are having a fight. It is pretty tense.
They don't have Spotify.
Yeah,
so
and
they can't play.
That is exactly
they can't play
right.
The show.
Yeah. So Claire's like, so listen, you can't kill him. And Jamie's like, but I'm gonna. And she's like, but please don't. And he's like, I'm hearing you, but I will. And she's like, I am asking you not to. And he's like, why? And she's like, well, 'cause of Frank. And he's like, I'm sorry, what? So now she's like, well, I remembered from when I lived in the present, because, now I'm in the past, that Frank's lineage said that Mary was supposed to marry Blackjack. And so if you kill Blackjack now, then Frank will never exist. And that makes me sad. And also, I don't know what happens.
And Jamie definitely did not think she was going to pull the Frank card. That was obviously not on his mind. Yeah, right. Well, because she's also been carrying this information with her for a while. This is something she didn't discuss with Jamie yet. While she's plotting, doing the stuff with Mary and Alex and all this stuff, she didn't include Jamie in this. She did not tell him that, like, oh, by the way, I know this piece of information and I'm worried.
Yeah.
So that's why it's all coming out here. And, like, I don't know. It puts Jamie in an interesting position.
So Jamie's upset, and he's like,
which is,
you're going to take this from me? Like,
he should be upset. It's fair. That makes sense.
I've had everything taken from me, and then I've done my best to try and rebuild, And this was, like, the one bit of joy that completely turned my life around. Like, the idea of being able to kill this man. And you're going to take that from me for your ex-husband who might not exist anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Can I tell you something? I'm going to be honest with you. I think I differ so much from Claire. Like, I wouldn't think about, does that mean he doesn't exist? Like...
What do you mean?
Not my problem.
If you were Jamie?
No, if I were Claire. Like...
Oh, if Frank doesn't exist?
Meaning, like, I don't know how this time travel works. I don't know... Yeah. I don't know how anything's going to play out. Yeah. I'm not going to make assumptions.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it works, so I'm not going to drive myself crazy. So if my husband wants to kill Blackjack Randall, I would just let him.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Also, because she's married, she's not, Frank's offspring. There's no lineage and related.
Right, where it's like,
nothing happens with her existence.
Disappear?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Her life, of course, would be different, but maybe then she wouldn't be on that honeymoon with Frank in Scotland, and she wouldn't have gone back time, and also she wouldn't have met Jamie. So Frank and her not having a relationship is possible that she would have never met Jamie, and that doesn't, exist, the relationship.
But that's not really what she's saying.
I know. Well, the other thing is we know Claire. We know Claire tries to fix not one thing, but all. She feels like everything's her responsibility, and she feels like she has to find a solution for everything. And that's, it is quite ridiculous, because she just takes it to the extreme. And now Jamie and her, like, he just gave her, like, a dagger and, like, put it up to his chest. And he's like, then kill me now. Because he went through hell. He went through so much. And this is, like, the one thing, that he's just dying to do. Literally, may die.
Right.
In doing it, like, having a duel with Blackjack. But the whole time when he came here, the whole recovery that he went through...
Well, and what's interesting is Claire's like, or maybe Jamie says it, they agree on, like, 1 year. Like, 1 year before Jamie gets to do it. Which, Claire had given Blackjack the hour of his death. And so I don't know if that lines up or what the deal is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Wow, Jamie loves her so much.
Interesting point you just made.
Yeah.
She knows
but
Blackjack's...
he said a year, right? Didn't he just offer that?
He just said a year. Not 1 day more. Yeah, he's just saying a year. And then she's like, oh, she's about to thank him. And then he's just like, do not touch me. Oh.
I hate this season, to be honest with you. I dislike it.
Because there's just so much quarrel between them.
Yeah, it makes me very unsettled. The plan is stupid. They're not in sync. Wow, that was a quick episode.
And that's that for episode 5. I was going to say, though, a good point that you mentioned was that Claire does know when Blackjack Randall dies. And if Jamie were to duel him, that... if Blackjack were to die at that time, that date would have changed. Like, that hits that, that's definitely something.
Well, yes or no. I mean, we also don't know that Jamie would have killed him.
We have no idea. Yeah, but then if he doesn't die at that time, if she really believes that Blackjack is only going to die on this date, then she's just like, then Jamie's just gonna die.
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm a woman,
a
single mom.
Let's also back up. I would not want my husband to go into a duel. Like that would be something I say. Like, hello, I am birthing your child shortly, and I would like you to be here for it.
Right, but like you were saying, at the forefront, I think her thought was Frank. It wasn't that she's just
that's exactly what she said. Yeah. When he said, why not? She said, because of Frank.
It wasn't like, because I don't want to raise this kid by myself.
Right. So...
it's always about Frank. Okay, we're going into the scoring section. Woo! Categories are steaminess, plot, feminine power, costume set, and cringe factor.
There
steaminess.
Was no steam. It was steamless.
It's steam.
I'll give it a 1.
I can't believe we haven't said that before.
Yeah, right? Or have we? We just don't remember.
I don't know.
Have we? You told us.
Yeah, 0. I also put that as a 0.
Plot?
A 0?
I gave it a 1 because, like, I don't know. It was nice that he bought her a baby gift. It's not really steamy, but like I don't know. It was like
Sure,
finally like a little something. What did I? Yeah.
The spoons. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll take what I can get at this point.
Spoons are so sexy.
Better than no spoons.
Round curves. They can scoop things.
All right, that's between you and the silverware. Plot.
Yeah, we have a lot of new information. Alex found out he has an illness.
He knew he had an illness.
Well, we found out. We didn't know. Blackjack, we got it. I don't know. They had the discussion. Blackjack is basically like the biggest plot point.
Yeah.
And for that, I'll probably give it a 3. There's definitely other stuff in there. What am I forgetting?
I don't know. I only gave it a 2. We already knew that Blackjack was alive and that his brother was going to write to him. Not necessarily that it was going to cause him to come, but like as a viewer, you're like, at some point, these worlds are going to collide.
Right.
So that wasn't necessarily like a new idea. I just didn't feel like there were new ideas.
I got you.
Even Claire's reveal of like, don't kill him because of Frank, like, that was something we already knew she was thinking. So for us, there was no necessarily new information.
All right, fine. I'll put it to a 2.
No, that's fine.
Gosh,
I'm not
twist
trying
my arm. No,
all
it's
right.
fine. Feminine power. I would probably give it a 2.
Yeah.
Just for her and Mary.
Yeah.
You know.
Agreed.
Costume set. That dress in the garden. No new sets, but I mean the garden actually. That's good. That's considered, and it's like wow. It was just very impressive. Still very impressive. I'll probably give that a 3.
I'm giving it a 5. I'm sorry. I love all of the things.
Yeah, you read that.
I love.
Yeah. Go for it.
Love it.
Cringe
I
factor.
hate this season, and all of the episode scoring is going to be skewed for the sets
Costume
alone.
Cringe factor.
Oh God, -5. I don't need to be reminded of. I know that's dramatic, but like, I don't need him here, and I don't touch my Jamie. Ah.
I'm giving it a -3. So, okay, cool. 4 is my total.
5.
Thank you guys once again for listening to this episode.
Thanks.
Share, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.